Pam is here with us all the way from the US. We've brought her in to give us a little bit of expertise on how you can use this tool with Ecommerce. So 3 simple ways to drive big results. This is all about reciprocal kind of relationships with our customers and our clients. And last week we were actually talking about inclusivity and working with folks who may learn in different ways. And I just thought, wow, this session really is going to tie in with that really well on how to speak to some of those folks. So as a little bit of a reminder, if you're streaming with us on our social media platforms, which is quite common these days, make sure you use the comment section, Q&A function, or a chat function, no matter where you are, to get your questions answered by Pam. Are we going to answer them throughout, or do you want to do it at the end? What do you think?
Whichever is easier for you. I'm happy to pause and answer.
Cool. All right. Well, we'll run it like that, and maybe we'll just see if it's really relevant. We'll hit it, but if it's not, we'll wait till the end. And so make this session work for you. Just as a reminder, if you need extra support, we are always here to help you with your business to grow. So you can contact us at support@digitalboost.co.nz, and we're real people. We have a phone number. You can call us. We will get on the phone with you and talk to you. We will book Zoom sessions with you. If you need that kind of support, let us know. We're here to help. Thanks, Pam. Thanks for joining us today. This took us I feel like we put it together pretty quickly, getting you on from all the way over across the globe here. But I just want to say thank you so much for meeting me at awkward times for you, and for kind of helping our Digital Boost users with learning about this tool.
No, thanks for having me. This will be fun. Yes, I'm about to have dinner. I think you're having breakfast. It's all good.
Indeed. Indeed.
And I will say for your listeners, get your phones ready, because this is going to be a little bit of an interactive session as we go through this. I have some QR codes, and you can take some of these experiences as we talk.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So if you're on a social media platform, it might be, if you're not on your laptop, you might have a bit of a challenge, but yes. Yeah, but that's okay. Okay. That's okay. All right, fantastic.
We'll get to the QR codes later.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm just going to get our live chats all set up, and I'll make sure your share screen is working before we do that.
Okay. You want me to share now?
If you'd like.
Sure thing. See if this works.
Perfect.
How's that?
What platform do you use for your presentations?
This is Keynote.
Cool. Okay. Thank you.
Hopefully it cooperates with me on this. So thank you all for joining. Hopefully you'll get a nugget or two to take away from this conversation that you can apply to your business. But I'm Pam Erlichman. I'm Chief Marketing Officer of Jebbit. Jebbit is about a 10-year-old company, started in Boston. We now have remote employees all over the US and in some other countries as well. But we're going to dive into what we do and how it could help your business. And I'm going to show you a whole bunch of examples. Like I said, it is interactive. So if you're watching this on your laptop and you have your phone handy, that would be great. But first, let's just start with a couple of trends that's going on that's kind of bringing us down this path of quiz commerce, or conversational commerce might be another term that you hear. So, the trends both in 2021, I would say are the same for 2022. We're seeing 3 big things happen with consumers in what they're doing from a shopping standpoint. I'm going to touch on these a little bit more each in a minute, but the first is consumer control with data privacy and with data policies is going on, and with Apple and Google, it really is putting consumers in the driver's seat of their own data and how and when and where they want to share that data. The second one, no surprise to all of you, is it's all about e-commerce, right? The pandemic has kind of fundamentally changed how people shop, and therefore as business owners, where we need to be to greet and meet and greet those consumers. And then the last one is value-based velocity, which I'll go into in a minute, but especially with the Gen Zs and others, there's more of a value exchange that needs to happen now. They need to align with the brand's purpose and mission and want a little bit more from the brand than maybe what was previously expected. So let's go back to the beginning with consumer control. We're seeing signs. This is the impact that Apple's changes made on the industry. So they changed what they call IDFA, which is their tracking, and it went from brands being able to see about 70% of consumers down to about 10%. And so, as I think most of you know, there's been a lot of regulation talk for a while. There's been GDPR. I think in New Zealand, it's the Privacy Act of 2020. For us, it started in the US with the CCPA, the California Protection Act. And so what happened was there was a lot of noise about what's happening in the regulations that's going to change. But really the impact really happened is when Google and Apple announced their changes. And from there, we're now seeing the signs of impact. It felt like it was something that everyone's been talking about. How is it really going to affect me? And then bam, in Q4 of last year, Snap had a drop in their earnings because of their reports, and they were saying that it was Apple's effect on what was happening to their business, which was about a $72 million loss. And then this quarter, Facebook did their earnings call, and they said in that call that they're predicting they're going to lose about 10 billion this year because of Apple's privacy changes. So we're really at the tip of this, of just seeing what these privacy changes are going to do to these big platforms, which obviously subsequently hits, how businesses are going to now target and reach their consumers on these platforms. The next trend, as I mentioned, no surprise to anyone here, with the pandemic, e-commerce has been the focus. And here's a chart just showing that we had 10 years of analyst growth in e-commerce in the first 3 months of the pandemic hitting. So again, 10 years of predicted change. It happened in 3 months' time because of what happened. And yes, of course, people are going to go back to retail and start shopping again. I'm definitely seeing it here and saw it this weekend, which is great. But of course, also, sometimes when behaviors are forced change, it's now a convenience factor. And so more and more people now realize that they can easily shop from their phone or from home, and they'll continue to do so. And then the last one, as I mentioned, is value-based velocity. So it's this notion of consumers want something in exchange for their data and information. And we see this coming out in this trend on gamification. And so, no, I'm not talking PlayStation or Xbox or anything like that. This is about the growth of gamification and marketing. And so you can see here from this chart from 2020 to 2025, we're expecting a 30% growth in this area of again, and we'll get into it in a little bit, but gamifying the consumer experience. And so how do you take those three trends and how do you win in this new world? And we think the concept is something we've been working on for a long time, is pretty simple and is right. It does right by both the consumer and the brand, which is a lovely, lovely thing to be doing. So we affectionately call it quiz commerce or conversational commerce. Put whatever name and spin you want on it. But it's just this simple notion of providing consumer value. You're giving them something as to why they should give your time and attention. They should give you their time and attention. In that exchange, create a shoppable moment. And then for you, the business owner, the brand, you're getting what we call zero-party data back in exchange. And so you may hear this be called as first-party data, declared data, but zero-party data is really the data that a consumer is giving the brand directly, willingly, and explicitly. They know they're in this exchange with you, and they're volunteering their information. So when we think about data privacy, this is truly like an opted-in conversation, opted-in data points that the consumer is giving you. So what is it? It really, bring it to life. And I'm going to get both of these videos going. And it's kind of on the left, the old way, and on the right, the new way. So Express is a great customer of ours, and you want to go and find a pair of jeans, and you get to their site, and you are now kind of endlessly scrolling for all these different jeans on the left. Versus the right is this fun personality quiz that's getting a little bit of your personality, your attitude, how this is a fun question, how friends see you, and obviously some cuts of the jeans and what you really want in a jean, and in a answer 4 questions, and you've got a recommendation that you can shop the look and find a pair of jeans that way. Much more fun for the consumer. Products, I just showed you an example of a product match quiz with that jean finder. But it's not just about product match quizzes. We have brands using voting and live polling and interactive lookbooks, product match, personality quizzes, using trivia and testing knowledge. All those really fun ways to gamify the brand experience for the consumer. And again, give them something of value while you're improving your lead capture rates, your conversion rates, and you're getting a couple more data points about them so that you can personalize all the subsequent experiences as well. So when we think about genuine value to a consumer, we think about these 6 areas. It might be trivia and you're entertaining someone. Certainly with a product recommendation quiz, you're saving me time, or you're giving me a recommendation. Some of these experiences do more than one. Give more than one of these values. If you're in loyalty or CRM, it might be unlock a benefit for me, or teach me about your program in a fun way. So again, these are all ways when we talk about giving consumers a value exchange, it does not mean deals and discounts. It doesn't mean that typical pop-up you see when you get to a site that says, give me your email address and we'll give you 10% off. It's not a great consumer experience. And we've found and proven you don't need to give out those kind of discounts as long as you're giving something of what we call genuine value in exchange. All right, so let's get into it. I promised 3 simple ways to boost your results. And we're gonna start at the top of the funnel and work our way down. So the first one's, how do I capture attention and increase consideration of my brand? So think about this example, especially if you're either organic or paid social media is a good example of this. So this is a small business brand of ours, Hedonist. They use our platform and they did it fun. It's kind of a personality / product quiz, but they get your attention by saying, which last dab are you? And I'm just going to play this. This is where the QR code's right here. So feel free to scan and kind of take the quiz yourself and see what outcome you got. But there's some really fun questions here. So it's not a strict product match quiz. You're kind of pulling them in with a little bit more of a personality spin to it. They're getting some great data points about what kind of food you like, how hot you want things, etc. And right at the end, there's a recommendation to buy the trio pack. This isn't live right now, but if you click that, it then takes you right to their page on this particular product. So you can continue right on and put it in your cart and drop it in from there. So this notion of like this hybrid personality quiz that leads to a product recommendation is a really popular one for upper funnel campaigns.
I'm doing it, Pam. It's awesome. Good. It's like really, I love it. This reminds me back in the day when you used to get your magazines and it would ask you like a few and at the end you'd get your results. Who didn't love those? I mean,
it's so fun. I mean, like I look at it, who doesn't take a BuzzFeed quiz, right? Like, which Harry Potter house are you? And things like that.
It took 2 seconds, and now I'm like, ooh, okay. Mm-hmm. Cool.
Right. And it's a great way to break through on social, right? Because it's not just hey, buy my product. It's pulling them in with something clever, whether it be trivia, whether it be a personality quiz, but you're able to kind of break out and get their attention and give them, 60 seconds of entertainment while they do it. All right. Well, hopefully everyone scanned that one. Let's move on to the next one, which is, and this is our most popular experience by far, which is how do I create that personalized in-store experience in digital? So many of you, again, pre-pandemic probably had a lot of store traffic. And now you've got to figure out, okay, if I walked into a store and I greeted my shopper, how can I help you? What are you looking for today? You'd ask a couple of questions and then you'd bring them over and give them a recommendation. So the real challenge here is how do you do that in digital? And so again, this one is far and away our most popular place that brands put us, which is on a website to be that greeter. And the deployment of it before I hit the quiz can be a number of different ways. And we actually encourage clients to test and see which one works for you. It could show up as that pop-up I talked about, that light box that before you even see anything else on the site, it greets you. But what a way better way to actually say, hey, how can I help you? Answer a couple of questions. I'm going to give you a recommendation and then get the lead capture at the end versus that, hi, give me your lead. So that's one deployment. Or you could just let them get to the homepage and embed it and, somewhere on the site or the hero image. Obviously, if it's up top in your site, it's going to get a lot of traffic. Or it can launch as what we call like a companion unit. So think about like an open chat bot hanging out on like the left bottom corner of the website. So again, there's lots of ways you can deploy it on the page. But again, it's that notion of what are the couple of questions you'd ask an in-store visitor, and therefore you can do it here too. So we're going to click this one. Again, encourage you to get your camera, scan the QR code. So I took this earlier while I recorded. I am cinnamon all day long for my coffee flavor. Normal caffeine, I don't want to be up all night. They get my lead capture rate. And again, you can do opt-ins, whatever, again, based on the laws of your area, you can make sure you have that opt-in on the first screen or opt-in on the last screen, however you need to play it. And
like
here we go.
It doesn't send it to your email. Like you actually, like you put your email in and then, so I'm Rainforest Memories. That's what I got.
There you go.
You got Mexican Morning. I got Rainforest Memories. That's really cool. And I think because, sometimes they say, oh, you do a quiz and then they send you the results to your email. Then you've left the page. This allows you to stay right where you are, which is quite cool. And then buy it. Love it.
Exactly. So if you hit shop now, then it will redirect. But for example, if this was in social, just because I get this question a lot, if someone clicks the experience in social, we're not taking them anywhere else. The experience will pop natively in social. So once you're done with it, you're still right wherever you were on Facebook or Insta. You're still right then and there. On your website, same thing. You're just now directing them to whatever that page is so they can hopefully add it to their cart.
Yeah, so that would be a really important thing if you haven't set up your social media catalogs or shops, like then you'd hit a bit of a roadblock, probably would have to take you off site, wouldn't it? But if you have it, that's why it's so good to have all of these touch points as a small business. You've got your site, but then you've also got your catalog and your shop on Facebook. And we did do a session on that, on how to set those up. But if you need a little bit of extra support, reach out to our support team. We'll help you get that set up. But you do need to have a website in order to set those up. But
you do need to have a website. You don't necessarily need to have a social one. For example, if you were building this quiz, you could just drop in a redirect URL in the quiz to take them right to this product page on your site. So you're right. You need the e-commerce site, but you don't necessarily need to have like a headless commerce set up within social, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So in your specific example where you were saying you don't have to leave the page, you would probably, maybe.
If you chose to buy, then yes, you're leaving the page at that point. But cool. That's a good thing. You want to buy. You're adding it to your cart.
I love this. This is great. And it was fun. And we were talking about this with folks who have dyslexia or other kind of, neural kind of, I want to make sure I use like the correct terminology, but people who I guess learn in different ways or read in different ways or things like that. These quizzes and using visual aids and things like this really help to engage folks that just see the world in a beautiful way, and it might be slightly different to you. So this is another way that you can access that whole market and be more inclusive. So I love this. I'm having fun. Okay, keep going.
Yeah, and you're right. That's a great point, because most people are visual learners. And so certainly as you saw in some of these examples, you could make the buttons text buttons, but you could also make the question buttons images instead. All right, last one. I have a whole host of these, but for today, I promised you 3 simple ways. So I'm keeping it to 3 simple ways. So the last one, so now you have a customer, maybe they bought from you once or twice, but how do you keep talking to them and bringing them back to your store? So for this one, how can I stay top of mind with customers in between purchases and drive incremental sales? Well, we find trivia is a great way to do this. And our client Bliss was launching a new product line that involved vitamin C. And so what they did was they sent this quiz out to existing customers and tested their knowledge on vitamin C. And you can see, I think I failed this test pretty badly because I was doing it fast, but you can see how you got it. So you don't have to explain, but now, I didn't get that question right. And you have that overlay to teach them something. And so this is a really great way. I will say ASICS Footwear, when you join their loyalty program, they want to teach you about the benefits of the program. And instead of just giving you the laundry list of here's all the benefits of our program, they use trivia to say things like, is it true that I can still take back my shoes if I wore them once? And it's true. So it's a really creative way to educate consumers, again, test their knowledge, just hit them sort of in a different way than you're probably used to. But this one was deployed in email to existing customers and got those customers coming back to check out their new product launch.
Epically failed that quiz.
I did too.
So that was really good. Clever, very clever. And I could see this being really applicable with a number of businesses, in the health and beauty industry. You could use it across so many industries, maybe like health and wellness. You could work in that area. You could even work it into like dental kind of stuff. I could see, this, how many times should you brush your teeth? How long should you brush? You know what I mean? Like It could be a really cool way to like engage in that way, or so many applications, and creating that knowledge base. How fantastic.
Trivia is an awesome way to teach, whether it's, another good example, especially for small businesses, like with a brand purpose behind it, like Salty Sailor example, a percentage of their proceeds go to veterans. And so also trivia or education, doing something like this is a great way to explain to consumers what your brand stands for, or, teach them about what's happening. And your return policy, it can be from big things like brand purpose to those little things like here's our policy, or, things like that. So
yeah, how to enter the draw. What do you need to win this comp? Or, you know what I mean? You could do heaps of stuff. Yeah.
So many things. So here's just one case. I didn't go case studies all the way through these, but those were the 3 examples. Again, it's social media. So upper funnel was the first one. On-site and increasing conversions and lead capture was the second one. And then again, how to engage your customers in email. If you remember from those other ones, we're asking questions about them. So especially going back to that last example, even coming up with, all right, you already know, for example, I have combination skin and it's super sensitive. Well, that might be a different segment to then reach out and email and what to talk about and what to bring up versus, some of the way some of the customers answered those questions differently. So it really can also be a great basis for an initial segmentation strategy. Excuse me. And the example of Salty Sailor, like who are your medium roast versus your dark roast people? And then again, make sure you talk to them like, I heard you, I understand, you told me this, I'm going to honor it now. And that personalization will fall all the way through. So this is another beauty brand, Pour Moi. They're a startup brand, really with their own perspective on beauty and what is important when looking at skincare products. But Uli, the founder, has been using Jebbit on her website for a couple of years now. And it has driven 16% incremental sales. The very cool part is 163% increase in cart size. So meaning not only are the people going through the quiz buying a product, but they're buying more than the average person buying products on their site. And then this last part I thought was really interesting, and love to tell this story, especially to small businesses. She gets less than 1% returns from the people who take the quiz. And so she attributes that to, we all know returns can be a very heavy cost for a business. And she attributes that to the confidence that the consumer is getting by taking the quiz and getting that recommendation and knowing that that was the right recommendation for them based on how they answered the questions. So I always love that point, that not only is it important to, again, on the front end, drive increased attention and leads and sales, but on the back end also reduce what can be costly for many brands on the return side. So, and I probably went faster than I thought here. I have a tendency to talk fast, so apologies for that. But there's a couple just guiding principles based on what we talked about today. Really that notion of giving your customers inspiration and guiding them through the selling process, not just leaving them up to their own devices to kind of figure it out. Delivering a clear value, something of exchange back to them, a value proposition. Asking the essential questions, which is a big change from where the industry has been. It used to be ask any and all the data, get it all. And again, thanks to the data privacy and regulations and changes, it really now is about ask the essential questions. I always say to customers I speak to, if you're sitting down and having a cup of coffee with a consumer, what are the most important questions you would ask them? And also, how would you personalize, how would you activate those questions? So if a brand comes to me and says, oh, I want to ask this, this, and this, I say, great, how are you going to use it? How are you going to play it back to that consumer? And if they don't have an answer for it, I say, then don't ask the question. Because the last thing, on the flip side, the last thing you want is the consumer took time to tell you, I only like light roast coffee. And then they proceed to get a bunch of emails about dark roast coffee. So it is really important to think about how are you going, if I'm going to ask a question, how am I going to action on that and respect it and honor it, and think about the personalization. It doesn't have to be complicated personalization by any means. It just might be, okay, this puts them in this category of what I sell versus this category, and leave it as simple as that. And then the last and a most important point is being less transactional. It's not buy now, shop now, deals and discounts. It's finding a way to really break through and be more engaging for the consumer.
Next level. I love it. It's like the next level. You know what I mean? Because we talk about calls to action a lot on here, because it's something that sometimes is overlooked when you start up and make your website. I've even had a friend send me her website recently, and she makes beautiful organic, you could eat these things that you put on your skin, but making a website is not what she does. You know what I mean? So she threw me, had a look at this website, and it was simple things about moving where you put things on the page in order to maximize the real estate of what she had going on. And it's what a joy. I mean, instead of shop now, to have quiz me, like, cool. You know what I mean? Test
my knowledge on this. Yep. And it's like, how well do you know X, and pull them in that way.
And I think that it's something to be said here. This is coming, like Jebbit, obviously designed in Massachusetts, in the US. The US market is a lot older than the New Zealand market. As far as marketing is concerned, it's a totally different beast. And, these kind of things are cutting edge here in New Zealand. You know what I mean? In reality. And so let's take advantage of some of these things in order to, be ahead of the game. What a cool way for our New Zealand SMEs to, be ahead of some of probably the bigger providers out there. just
Absolutely. It's
because.
a way to get competitive advantage and differentiate yourselves and give a little smile on your customer's face. That surprise notion of surprise and delight. Yeah, we are US based. We do have customers globally, especially some of the bigger accounts. Closer to you is Mecca Brands, Elizabeth Arden in Australia. I'm not sure if in New Zealand as well. But some of those brands are using Jebbit experiences. But the beauty for your audience is we have a free version of our platform. And so I put our URL here. We have a free version up to a certain amount of completions, but you can go in and you can build a product match quiz. You can put it on your website or social or what have you. And yeah, you can let it, I think it's up to 1,000 completions before a lot of brands do want to like integrate, send the data into their email instance or something like that. But we do have some smaller tiers of pricing that give you a little bit more bells and whistles, but you could absolutely build one of the things like that Salty Sailor product match quiz yourself today.
Like, have a go at it. You know what I mean? It's free. Like, have a go and see how it works for you. Give it a try. I think it's quite exciting. I think, because of the conversion rate and stuff like that, sometimes we do get a little bit worried when we start to invest in things that are in the US. But I guess sometimes when you look at some of those numbers, you kind of go, ooh, I don't know. It might be well worth it. If you found that the free version wasn't enough, I don't know. That's those statistics kind of were quite large, to be honest, in percentages.
Yeah. The beauty about it is you can determine the ROI pretty easily. And if it's not working, it's all measurable. So to me, I ask a lot of the small business, what's the value of a new lead? Right. And so then think about this as well, what's the value of a new lead plus 3 really important pieces of information about that lead so that I can talk to them in the right way. Or again, if it's on site, you can simply look at your increase in lead capture and conversion rates. So it's the beauty about it is it's more fun for the consumers and it's pretty accountable to be able to make sure that you're getting an ROI from it as well.
Cool. Oh man, this has been such a great session. I know that Dean was saying he even liked that it could be good for people who don't like to read or, like they don't like to, people who don't also want to scroll to find your product. I love that example with the jeans. If you could answer a few simple questions and it could take you exactly to the products that would match well with you, and is really cool. And I think that this is a good application of when we were talking about using chatbots and using them in effective ways. We've had a conversation about that before, but we kind of chatted about it, but didn't know how to actually implement it. So this is kind of a great way that we could implement that strategy in our messenger platform or what have you, engage our customer and take them, through to things that they could really want to purchase and or, look into, what have you,
Yeah, and once you create the experience, it's just a URL link and obviously a QR code, as you saw today. So it can go anywhere offline or online, but it really is just as simple as anywhere you can put a URL link, you can put a Jebbit experience. And again, we have some subscription. I don't know how many of the brands you work with are subscription based, but we have some subscription companies putting the QR code inside the box, right? And getting them to say like, how are their preferences changing? Or, are they liking what they're getting? And doing the fun voting, like thumbs up, thumbs down, as a way to continue to give feedback on what they're getting in home.
And we're so conditioned to use QR codes now, take advantage of that aspect. I mean, you could really, some of our folks, right now we've got a massive surge with Omicron, like it's crazy. Almost 60% of businesses where I am are closed right now due to the fact that there are so many employees are sick that they can't even run their business. It's quite mad. But using QR codes could be a way to engage with them and be like, did you know that we have a subscription online? Or, you could order this. What kind of breads are your favorite? And you're passing by that shop, you could engage with them that way. You could do that if you're a person who normally sells at the markets, and we want to get back to that kind of place, because I know there are a lot of folks that do that here. You could use those at your stalls. I always am talking to people at markets about using QR codes. It's like, it is an easy way to get people onto your site, and it would be really cool to take them to an actual quiz, and then generate the lead that way, instead of just having that pop up, can I have your email?
Right.
Which is what we do essentially, join the tribe.
We do it. And it's not, I always just say, think about the consumer experience of that. Like, I just landed on your site. I'm not sure if I want to be here yet or not. I'm trying to figure out who you are. And instantly, like, give me your email address.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not the best consumer experience. But to your point about QR codes, like, fortunately, in a bad situation, right, of the pandemic, like the restaurant industry normalized QR codes.
Yeah.
And so I love your idea of, if people are outside, but they're not comfortable going back in stores yet, have a QR code and say, just shop us from the convenience of your phone.
Yeah. I mean, they're already there. They've already walked past your business, have some way to engage with them. You could easily stick that on your window. I mean, here in New Zealand, we have QR codes everywhere. I think that we're actually starting to not have to sign in anymore in some situations. I heard that the other day, which is a new thing in our new phase. But we're so conditioned with it that it's just so easy. I actually am quite annoyed when people don't have ways for me to scan and find their business. If they're talking to me like, here, take a card, I'm like,
I don't want to touch anything.
I don't want a card, like, what is I want to scan something. I don't want to have to type in your business name to find you online. What is let me scan something, take me there, then I'll like the page or I'll do whatever, I'm happy to do that. But, that's time consuming for me. And I know that sounds probably a bit ridiculous, but I think that's just that's how we think, we want things fast and easy. Make it easy for your customers. Like, don't make it so hard.
Now. The pandemic just accelerated all that. Amazon was winning because of convenience, right?
Yeah.
It's a convenience play, and the pandemic really just now accelerated for all businesses to have to be that easy, that convenient, that helpful, that knowledgeable about my wants and needs. And so this is a great way to do it. You don't have to, boil the ocean. You don't have to ask tons of questions. Best practices.
Never heard that saying, boil the ocean.
Oh, boil the ocean. It's one of my catchphrases. It's my go-to. But it's really just 4 or 5 questions. What are the things you need to know to actually guide them and be helpful to them based on their needs? I will say another really important question, especially around the holiday time, is this a gift or is it for you? How many times is it that someone makes a purchase, but it's actually for someone else, and then they're marketed to endlessly afterwards?
That's right. Great point. That's totally true. And Dean's just chiming in here and saying it would be great for a menu. And a lot of, you really could. You could do some narrowing down questions that, take somebody to like their favorite dish or something like that. I'm just checking the other social media, make sure I don't miss any questions. That's great. So many applications, so many. I want to thank you, Pam, for today, taking time out of your evening. I know you're probably hungry now. You're going to have some dinner.
I know, all this talk about menus and restaurants.
I know, coffee, menus, restaurant, we're talking about food. I want to thank you for coming on today and educating us on this. I know that I'm super excited about it. I think it's just like the bee's knees. So I'm going to be sharing it out, I know, from a little bit more, because I feel like, folks could really use this in so many different applications. And with those changes from Google and Apple, lead generation is imperative to not only maintain your business, but to grow your business. And we talk about that a lot on here, about lead generation and the importance of it, and not getting stagnant and feeling like, well, I've got enough customers for now. That can be, I don't want my business to grow any bigger, but then all of a sudden you have no business because you didn't actually continue to generate those leads. So and you can't really gather the same amount of data. And, the way that it's looking with the cookie apocalypse, there's going to be these things where if you have a certain number of leads, it's going to allow you to access a certain amounts of information, and without those leads, you won't be in that bracket of people who have access to those bits of information, so you want to have a good list, and it's not only good for that, it's good for the fact that if you ever want to sell your business, people want to buy your list with that business, that helps them to know that they've got a solid ground, because we know that lists are what underpin a business. So, super important to have. I just want to thank you again for helping us to see light in a different way.
Oh, no, I'm so glad. Thank you for having me. This was fun. And I know I put the Jebbit.com up there. So obviously, again, feel free to sign up for free. If you do have any other questions, you can reach me at pam@jebbit.com. I'm happy to answer any questions or help strategize with you. I love this stuff.
Yeah, awesome. All right. Well, from here in New Zealand, we say ka kite, which means bye and be well and all of that kind of stuff. So thank you, Pam. Ka kite. Have a wonderful day.